Hey guys, so I've had some requests lately to do a video talking about the differences between the Sport with the max tow package and the Rubicon, and I guess the Overland too. There are a lot of guys and girls that are shopping for these things and they don't really know which model to go with. So let me show you something real quick. So if you look in here on the door jamb, there's a sticker right here. And this sticker will tell you the maximum payload that your truck can handle. Now in this case, mine is 1,511 pounds, which is pretty substantial. I looked at several of the Ram 1500 half-ton trucks on the lot and they were around 1,600 pounds. So this truck with the max tow package only has 100 pounds less payload capacity than a full-size half-ton truck. Now, if you look at an Overland, you may see a number somewhere around 1,000, and I think some of the Rubicon models are around 1,100 pounds of payload. So this model, the Sport with a max tow, is 400 pounds more payload capacity. Now the reason why that's such a big deal is because the payload number is going to dictate how much you can actually tow with the truck, especially if you have a family. And I just did a video recently discussing why that is, so go check that video out. But the bottom line is, if you're going to use your Gladiator for work, let's say, and I'm not necessarily talking about for business, just if you're going to work with the truck, if you're going to haul things, if you're going to tow something substantial and you have a family, I would strongly consider this particular model, the Sport with a max tow, because then that extra payload really opens up a lot of possibilities, because most trailers are designed to put 10 to 15% of their weight on the tongue. And so if you do the math on it, 400 or 500 pounds of extra payload goes a long way to increasing the trailer that you can pull. Now, obviously trailer brakes and distributing hitches, weight distributing hitches, things like that come into play too. But this truck right here is going to give you a whole lot more capability. So if you're going to work with the truck, you might want to consider that. Now, I was curious before I actually saw these things about whether or not the Rubicon had the same springs as the Sport with the max tow, and they do not. If you can see the tag there, the last three numbers are 444. And the coil spring on the other side is a 445. I looked at the coil spring numbers on a Rubicon model and they were in fact different. And obviously the Rubicon has a little bit taller suspension, and it's got higher fenders on it too to give you more clearance for tires. So if the truck is going to be primarily an off-roader, then obviously the Rubicon is the one you want to go with. Now this truck with the max tow package has the same axles that the Rubicon has. It's the wide track Dana 44s, 410 gear ratio. The only difference is obviously on the Sport you don't get the true lockers in the axles. You could add lockers later on if you wanted to, but that's the only difference. Same axles, just without the lockers on this one. The Rubicon of course comes with the lockers. The Overland model has the regular width Dana 44s, and it also has the 373 gears, so a numerically shorter gear, going to give you maybe a little bit better fuel economy on the road. But you know, that's pretty much all there is to it. The Overland is kind of the luxurious model for those who are just looking for something to use around town, to haul light loads, to do it in comfort and style. That's your model. If you're going to work with the truck, this is the one you want. If you're going to be off-road a whole lot with the truck, you want the Rubicon. That's pretty much all there is to it, guys. Well, hello there, Mittens. Are you looking for your sister Dixie dog? I haven't seen her for a while. She's probably looking for a gravy bone. Now, if you crawl up under the rear, you'll see that the spare tire is mounted in a very traditional fashion for a pickup truck, and they left enough space in here on the front and the back that you can fit what they claim to be up to a 35-inch tire in the spare tire mounting location. Although earlier today I saw a picture of a guy who had a 37-inch tire in here. So bottom line is there's plenty of room for a full-size spare in here if you end up upgrading your tires. Now, as far as the hitch goes, here's the major difference between the Wrangler and the Gladiator. The Gladiator bolts down the frame rail on both sides like any other pickup truck does. On the Wrangler, you just got a single cross member that goes horizontally across the back of the Jeep, and it just bolts on right there. So there's a lot of torsional load on that cross member when you put a trailer on it. With this type of mounting going down both frame rails, it gives you a whole lot more strength. And of course, this is a class 4 hitch. So that's a major difference, and that's one of the reasons why the Gladiator has such a high towing capacity compared to the Wrangler. Another reason, of course, is the brakes. If you can see in there, those rear brakes on the Gladiator with the max towing package are huge. The Wrangler brakes are much, much smaller. These discs in the back are huge, and of course you've got those big dual piston calipers up in the front also. And just driving this thing after having the JL Wrangler for a couple of well, about a year and a half, I can tell you that the braking is much, much better on this truck. I mean, it's just noticeably stronger braking. Okay, so that's a big deal. That's another reason why this truck has such a high towing capacity compared to the Wrangler. There's lots of reasons, but the engine cooling package, the wheelbase, the brakes, the way the hitch mounts, there's a whole lot to it. You know, this is not, obviously, it's not just a Wrangler with a bed on it. They changed a lot of things on these trucks. Now, one of the things I did today is I put these Mopar splash guards on there, and I'm not really crazy about the way they look, but it's all about function because we have a lot of gravel roads out here, and so we get a lot of mud and gravel junk that gets thrown up on the paint. So I'm hoping that these will kind of keep the rockers a little clean in the front and the back, give me a little bit more protection. And I'm also going to put some step rails on here too, so I'm hoping that, you know, the combination of the splash guards and the step rails, just like on the Wrangler, will keep a lot of this stuff off the doors and keep rocks and mud and everything from beating up the paint. So I'm in the process of doing that right now. Last night I did also put the hardtop, the Sunrider for hardtop, I put that back on there. If you remember, I had that on my Wrangler briefly, and the Freedom panels on the Gladiator are in fact identical. So you can reuse the Best Top Sunrider for hardtop on your Gladiator. It's just that rear section back there that's smaller. The Freedom panels are the same between the Wrangler and the Gladiator, which I kind of expected they would be, but I'm glad that that worked out. So that fit up nice. And of course, like I mentioned, this weekend I'm going to get the Line X bed liner sprayed in here. The decision I have to make is, apparently they have multiple versions. They've got a standard spray-in, they've got a premium spray-in that has some UV protection in it, and it's quite a bit more expensive, so I've got to decide exactly what I'm going to go with. But chances are I'm probably going to do the standard one because I may end up putting a tonneau cover on here, and so this might not get much sunlight on it. But they both have a lifetime warranty, so I don't guess it's a big deal either way. These beds are pretty small, just a 5-foot bed, so they told me they could do the standard one for less than $500 with a lifetime warranty. So we're going to do that probably Saturday morning, so I'll show you a video on that when we get there. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. If you're having trouble deciding which model to get, I think it just basically comes down to what you're going to do with the truck, you know. In my case, I do a whole lot of different things with the truck. Landscaping, chores, and moving firewood and branches, and we go camping, we go out on the lake with a boat, we do all kinds of things. Pretty much everything you can do with a truck, you know, I do with mine. So I just felt like the Sport with a max tow package would give me more options, and it would ensure that I'm not limited, you know, to what I can do with this truck in the future. Anything that I need to do with the truck, I can do with this one. And when I looked at the Overland, it just didn't have enough capacity for me. So, you know, the Rubicon's interesting because you still get pretty close to the same towing capacity as this model, but you still don't get anywhere near the payload, you know. And again, that's kind of the limiting factor there in a lot of cases. So it's kind of a oddball configuration. But hey, there's Dixie Dog. Where have you been? Did somebody give you a bone? Did you find a bone somewhere out here in the country? Ready to go in, huh? Yeah, I guess I am too. We got some storms rolling in over the hill. Another severe thunderstorm watch. It's been storming like crazy here lately. So anyway, just wanted to talk about that for a few minutes because a lot of folks had requested that video.